Join us as we restore our 50-year-old Camper and Nicholson ready for its journey around the world.
After another wintry night in Whitehaven Marina, it was finally time to hoist the Nick onto the hardstand.
Our plan was to completely restore the vessel for our journey around the world in 6 months with a budget of £10,000.
Many had said that this timescale would be too short and we would miss our date of departure, but we were determined to put our all into the work, and what we lacked in skills and experience, we thought we could make up for in manpower and enthusiasm.
A little bit nerve-wracking seeing 7.5 tons get hoisted into the air, but it's necessary for doing what we're doing. Might as well get used to it. Yes, it's getting lifted out and it's getting redone, because look at this.
Our first task was to get the Nick lifted out of the water and onto the hardstand, where we could begin the process of stripping the old antifoul and making all the necessary repairs.
Despite this anxious situation, we had trust in the team from Whitehaven Marina to hoist the Blue Spur out of the harbour safely as we watched our life savings dangle precariously in the slings.
Look at that. I've just been winded.
The Nick was in serious need of some work, as mussels and barnacles covered the hull and the rudder. These had damaged the gel coat layer and worked their way to the fiberglass. After a spray down, we got a better look at the hull and began to make assessments about what would need to be done.
Take it back to fiberglass and then reapply epoxy.
Well, it certainly is a strange feeling to watch your life savings hung up by 2 straps. But these boys have done a really good job. Really appreciative of Whitehaven Marina. Get in the comments, show some love for Whitehaven Marina and these boys. So mad. It's finally done. The yacht is set down where it will be until March, where we relaunch it to sail around the world like
Freestanding.
Done. Geet!
Once the boat was on the cradle, we got straight to work stripping it down for renovation.
We had a long list of repairs to complete, including scraping the hull back to the fiberglass, applying a copper coat, giving the topsides and deck a full paint job, replacing the nav gear, batteries and electronics, installing a new propeller and bilge pump, and servicing the engine.
So we had a little problem with our side drains on the deck, and we noticed that they were actually flooding the deck and not draining away. We realised what's been blocking and what's been stopping them. Oh, that is the ring hole. Oh!
One of the most pressing issues on our agenda was the damage to the rudder, as barnacles had taken refuge inside the bracket.
So, me and Ramsey today, we've got to get the rudder off to fix an old hole.
Henry came up with the genius idea that we could remove it all together and he would somehow fit it into the back of his Toyota Aygo.
We get a new anode for it. We're going to replace these bolts as well.
Because that is non-existent.
Yeah, isn't it?
It's time for Henry to drill holes in the boats.
What's the worst that can happen?
Oh. Just got that kecker off. Look at all those worms.
You can actually see into the boat there. We have attempted to get the collar off of the rudder post that connects the top half of the rudder post to the actual rudder. So we've tried everything, including the torch, the hammer. Neither of them has managed to persuade the collar to actually come off. So what our next step is we're going to get the grinder and we're going to cut it off. Because it's got to go.
Though it had been suggested that we may be able to fix the rudder while still attached, we continue to wander blindly into our erroneous task.
Oh, you're going to get the Crobian. Hey! So we'll loosen this off and then hopefully we'll be able to go downstairs underneath the boat, undo like 3 bolts, and the whole thing should just drop out, easy as that.
The next stage was to remove the bottom bearing, though no one had thought to check if there were any bolts underneath securing it to the hull. Instead, we went ahead with a mini sledgehammer.
Once the bearing was off, we attempted to reposition the rudder to slide it out, but the prop was in the way and there was nowhere near enough clearance underneath the boat.
There we go, it's coming. Be careful pulling it that way.
Yeah, we've got it onto the prop.
You've got to proper rotate. It is on that prop.
It is stuck on the prop. Cowboy builders.
Under further inspection, we discovered that the necessary checks had not been carried out, and we had caused damage that would require further repairs. We subsequently moved on to our next misguided idea, and our second big mistake.
In your eyes, man.
In attempting to reduce the time and labour it would take to strip the hull, we decided that it was a good idea to use a sanding attachment for the angle grinder. In retrospect, this was a bad idea, as it was difficult to maintain the right angle to not shave too deep, and we ended up cutting several gashes into the fiberglass.
Scraping's the one. It's just a lot harder work than any other method.
So Henry angle grinded the collar and also unscrewed the bracket that went here. And the bottom bearing, the big old bronze bottom bearing, which if you actually just take a closer look underneath the actual fiberglass, there's been some
So, Shan and all the boys, to be fair, because we all had a part in this, but erroneous task. Should have thought. We've learned. Luckily, new propeller on the way.
So we finally got the prop off without having to take the rudder off. I am now fully retired, fully committed to the cause, fully committed to sailing around the world. This is what we're all about.
On the list, we also had jobs that were a little bit more our level, as we had to sand and varnish the woodwork to maintain it for our long journey.
When we bought the Nick, we knew it would need a lot of work to be ready for our trip around the world, and after our long season in the water, the frames, the doors and the floorboards were looking worse for wear.
Turns out the angle grinding was not the one. Lessons learned. All of this section here of the bow, we're gonna have to put some real TLC into it.
We continued with the scraping, and though it had once felt like an endless task, we were beginning to feel close to completion.
We then marked out the imperfections in the fiberglass that we would need to fill. These marks and dints caused by barnacles, scrapes and shavings from the angle grinder would need to be repaired with 2-part filler and sanded back before applying the epoxy coat. So we've got some holes in the steering wheel where the old autopilot used to be. They're shaved, so we're filling them. Then it's going to get a little sand and a re-varnish.
And that's the final dowel going in there.
During the bitterly cold nights, we continued with jobs that we could complete under the cover of the pilot house.
So we're just scraping out the defect we found in the rudder. That needs filled with something solid, boys.
Dremel Nation.
Right then, champos. I've been invited by a very good friend of ours called Derek to go and race with them to Workington. It's going to be my first ever race. All the gear, me idea. I'm going to win the race. That's what I'm going to do. Win, 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 win.
Normally we use a trolley, but I thought it'd be more fun if we
Yeah.
While Sam went racing, the boys got back to the important work.
Jeez, just look what Al has discovered. Wet. Whoa. Literally squeezing out, wasn't it? It was like a little pus filled.
What an adventure! Second. Winners in my eyes. Thank you to Derek, Sarah and Dave for inviting me out. I really appreciate it and had a really good time. We did have to get it all the way back to the fiberglass, but in some cases we ground it a little bit too shaly, so it's quite lumpy. So we're gonna have to sand that back and get a nice finish so that it's, those lines are all nice and smooth. Obviously we've learnt lots while in the process. We are amateurs at the end of the day, so we know we're gonna get a few comments about us grinding, angle grinding.
I think this is brilliant, and if we can just get a propeller on, it might help the boat go.
We've got our bottom rudder bearing here, and we're about to get ready to fill, and then this is going to go back on so we can reassemble our rudder. We've got two 35mm halving couplers that you'd normally use from your engine gearbox to the prop shaft, but instead we're going to use two of them mounted like face to face, because it's a lot easier using two halving couplers than trying to get a full like foot of coupler up one shaft and then halfway back down again. So we're going to put them on, and then the rudder is basically back together after that. So this is the coupler for. This is the coupler that goes on the top of our rudder shaft. There's a little collar this threads into that actually seals to the boat. I'm just grinding down our keyways for the rudder shaft because at the moment they're too thick and we cannot get our half connector couplers on. It's not good. So just thinning them down a bit.
Man Allen's veil has rolled in from the Isle of Man. Can't even see the end of the pier.
The sun has come out and it is perfect time to fill. Henry's getting blarted off of the filler fumes. Marshmallow chewing gum, look at that. Whoa. For any of you that don't know, this is the filler that we are going to be using on the holes and the little cracks and the scary looking angle grindings.
Yeah.
So we're going to get it filled with this like Hulk paste and then some chuddy chewing gum. Get them in!
Mushy Peas Hulk paste.
Like those fumes are pretty minging.
That's what it should look like in the centre, that little central blob.
Right, the very first fill of all the little barnacle holes. So let's get it fired in. I'm going to start on a small one. It's a little bit like, not inconsequential, but less consequential than some of the more difficult ones. And hopefully we can get into the rhythm. So I'm sure a lot of you have thought, why have we taken it all the way back to the fiberglass? And sometimes we thought that ourselves, but with the amount of barnacle holes that we had to be done.
Coaches! So this is all stuff that has been pulled out from underneath my bed on the nickel. Easy win. Shin. Shin. Win. I'm sure they'll come in handy one day. Whether day or night, when the weather let up, we were outside grafting on the hull, getting ready for the weather windows in which we could apply the epoxy, primer and copper coat. Right, so I've just woken up on the blue spur, ready for another day of hard work. Yesterday, all day long, we were using isopropanol. Our mate Richard from over there said, you will get a hangover from using that. And I was thinking, yeah, Richard, of course we'll get a hangover. And then I've woken up this morning feeling like New Year's Day, mate. Feeling like I've had a big party last night, but I didn't. I was just walking away on the yacht until the early hours.
First squirt initiated.
Yarg!
Ready, set, sparf.
Oh, you dirty.
You barely did any, bro.
Wasn't sticking, bro. Go on, in the comments, how good was that sparf? Come on, boys.
It's terrible. Look, he barely even got where he was aiming.
Mint, man. That looks like 2 bits, that, yeah.
Stuffing it in?
Yeah.
The hull was finally getting there, and we sanded once more to prepare for the epoxy.
Get up, so we're on to the next stage, which is acetoning.
We then used a 2-part epoxy to seal the fiberglass.
Got much litter and more waterproof it's looking now. It looks way more waterproof.
Unbelievable.
And we'll just sparf it in. Make sure it's fully sparfed. So this seat post has got a bit of a round base on here. So I'm just doing some original craftsmanship. Get up. Nearly there. Under closer inspection, there is a crack along the pilot house roof. This is obviously a weak part because of the window, and there's a crack there. So we're going to reinforce that with some fiberglass gauze. So the long layers, a couple of sheets of that, resined in. And while we're at it, We're going to fiberglass in this piece of hardwood and marine ply that's been cut to shape to fit our old Garmin Navionics.
We used more of the 2-part epoxy filler to fill the hole in the rudder before returning inside to do more evening jobs.
Right, so last night me and Ramsey were filling with fiberglass filler all the little holes in the pilot house, and we've given it all a clean down. So tonight we're painting it black, because when we've done overnight passages in the past, we've always got like a bit of a reflection from the white on the screen, so we're getting the whole pilot house ceiling black.
Yeah, looks mint. Shows your new hat.
Noose.
Let's go.
Yager.
And the washdown. Show us the washdown.
Yager.
Yo, look at all this crazy hail. Look out here, Sam.
We had somewhat foolishly decided to attempt this refit during the winter and were punished heavily for this decision. We're trying to renovate. We do not need this.
That is so crazy. Sam, do you want to try?
Yeah, go on. That's crazy. Have a look at that as well. Secret black and grey OYZ drop. So we're removing the old solar panel because it wasn't working.
Fugied. Optimus primed. Look at the colour of that. Rob's getting a final roll finish on it.
Bit of the marine magic to get rid of the green. Let's see how it works. It's eco-friendly. Look at that. It's deleted a lot of green. Still some here. That's deleted so much green. It's looking pretty good. That's kind of what it did look like. Let's go. What the freak is that? Chattanoogas. Oh my god. Out of 10 for the Chattanoogas.
I'm gonna go low on this. I'm gonna go 4, if not even 3.
Yeah, to be honest, this one 3. I've had
That's a 2, mate.
Yeah, this is keeping you dry for the next few days till I can come back and do it properly with the proper stuff. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, so when it's dry, get that off and we'll get Mum to do it on her 50-year-old machine. 52-year-old.
My mum and grandma had been apprehensive about the possibility that we would sink and die, so they used their expertise to repair our sails and their covers, as well as the canopy for the pilot house.
We were considering using the Graft, which is the hybrid cleaner, but we thought the washdown ecos are too valuable. And the marine magic's done really well so far, so may as well get it used on the canopy and keep the washdown eco for what they're specifically for. So I'm sure you'll see them being used. Like this one's a food safe one.
we're giving it the old blast once again. We'll slide it across the Smiddies. Sliders.
4 out of 5 so far.
I mean, just look at the colour in that blue compared to that, because these haven't even been touched, but we've done all the way up to here.
And it's eco. More magic Mike, yeah?
Yeah. Now that's rubbed in.
We're not even sure if this is the right appliance for this liquid.
This is Rob's idea and it seems to be working pretty well. We've basically set up a new set of struts with the tarp in between them.
Tarp gang. Welcome back to Sparf TV. Just doing the final layer of Sparf on the rudder. Got some nice epoxy mixed up here.
I think that's us there. Yeah, that's us. Yeah.
For the final layer on the rudder hole, we used a fiberglass gauze and chopped mat. This fiberglass that we've put on is now ultra tacky. We're going to cut this in half and have it so the fiberglass joins even more to the rest of the beard. It'll be coming down there, it'll join all the way through on each side and be like a H, it'll be very strong.
Cowboy boatman.
So it was decently cold, obviously because of the time of year, so we've came out here and been here for half an hour with this heater, just gradually making sure it can get up to temperature.
As we were now homeless and unemployed, in the aim of eating cheap, we stuck to a minimal diet. But thanks to Boris the dog, we had the opportunity to eat rabbit, which Robert chefed up in the galley.
Obviously we'd be wanting the green vegetables and that as well. We're about to be doing the epoxy on the port side now, and if the weather holds out, we'll do the epoxy primer around the entire thing to get the chemical and mechanical bond. So we're using the foam roller, West Systems, and then we're using the mini roller just to catch any of the drips and that there.
So here you can see waterproof splooging, and it's absolutely destroyed.
These gloves are very spenny, so if you're watching this now and you're still interested, feel free to take part in the mega community on Patreon. The ultimate community is the Admirals. Get up the Admirals.
Salute to the Admirals.
So today the weather's nice. There's supposed to be 0% chance of rain. We've built the tent for safety anyway, and we're going to be doing some epoxying since the temperature's up and the sun is shining.
I'm just about to mix up some 5:1 resin and hardener for the boys. 3 minutes of stirring.
Nice and easy.
So I was on the main distribution, and then Rob is on the fine print with the small roller.
After completing the epoxy layer, we moved on to the epoxy primer, but before long, we had to protect the hull from the Cumbrian winter conditions.
Oh, it's not the best, but it'll do. It'll certainly do, coaches. Spider web is being put into action. Here comes Al with his duo spider web. Here's Rob with his. Come on there, boys.
Mega 10, I think it's about 10:30 right now. I've been absolutely cranking it, man. All day, every day. This is what retirement feels like.
Right, sail away.
Second layer.
Due to some classic northern weather, we built ourselves a tent out of tarps to protect the primer from the rain.
Get in! So, we're just sanding yesterday's primer that was on the port side of the boat. So we're just making sure that it's a nice flat surface when that copper coat comes on Friday.
That's so good, that frog tape.
And
Get in, team. The copper coat has arrived. Look at this. This is a genuine, this is the kind of thing Cobbo would like to have in his bedroom. It's a genuine wedge. They've also sent us our rollers in OYZ orange since they love OYZ.
We've just got our new skin fit in here for our new depth and boat speed transducer, and I've just gone to take the old one off. Trying to undo this, it's just sheared off clean with the hull of the boat on the inside. That was a close one. That was a very close one. If we hadn't noticed that, we could have had some issues there, but sorted it. We've got ourselves a new one, and the new one's going in.
We've just taken out the old speed reader because it was broken, so I'm just cutting out the inside plastic fitting, and we're going to put a new one in which is speed and depth to our new Navionics, which we're also fitting today. So it's a big day today. Now is the time to start drilling holes in the Björt. Yeah! No, I'm only joking. We need to widen this hole here to get the new speedo and depth sounder in there, ready for tomorrow, so we can get it wired in. We've dremeled out the bit around there because there was a gap and we didn't want to leave a gap, and now we've got the flush fit like a glove. So we're about to install our new speedo and depth sounder in there, dench.
I need you to be able to like stick your fingers out. Stick your fingers out on one hand.
oh, yeah. There we go.
Is that the winning
That's the
Win the game.
That's the winning amount, that is. So we've got all of our Sikaflex on our new through hull. So we have epoxied around it as well. It still looks a bit wet. It's just in the tacky stage, so we get good surface area contact.
Fire away, coach. Yeah. Oof, that's Seeker Nation. Yum!
Having used Sikaflex in the past, I know how much of a mess it can be, as where I prepared my white spirit and a clean rag to wipe the mess up.
We are greasing up the steering shaft right on the old cog.
Henry's fingering away. Dirty fingers, man.
That's him floating that. There's no CGI involved here.
None at all.
Sail away.
Henry then scurried up the mast to install our brand new Raymarine Windex.
That is going to be in so solid once the bolts are in.
Give you a second to combi. Oh my god!
Yo! My! Look at the size of the yoke. Geet! 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 What the hell?
That's crazy, that.
That is like tennis size. Yo. I thought we were getting the 3, but the 4 looks unreal. Look at that, I don't even want to touch it. Alien tech. Look at that, guys. Whoa. Look at this, guys. Alien technology.
We've just moved this battery out of the battery box to replace it with a new one, and it's full of water.
As the old battery box wouldn't suffice, we had to build ourselves a new one using a timber frame, marine ply and fiberglass.
New water is an escape from there. The prop, unfortunately, a brand new Vari prop, which is a cracking prop, fortunately doesn't quite fit inside of our rudder. So we're just discussing now what we're trying to do, or what we're going to do to fix that. The old prop used to sit probably more about there, a few inches further back than the new prop sitting there. That's purely because of the hub design, with having these crazy gears in it. To do that, it means it pushes our prop further back, which then in turn pushes the nut and the anode, which will eventually go on, into our propeller, which isn't ideal. We've got a few options. One of our options is to cut away at the rudder. Not an option we really want to do. And another option that has been discussed is to cut and rejoin our prop shaft with similar couplers to these, which are going to be going on our rudder shaft to rejoin that. It's sort of an awkward one, really. So that there, as you can see, that's how the prop turns, and then as you turn it, as you'd feather it, as we would be sailing, it hits on the rudder just there. And right now the rudder is about the same normal position as it would be when it is rehung on both of its hinges. So last season we overheated a few times, so we are now starting to suspect that the Bowman heatsink we've got, that takes in cold salt water and runs it near but not in contact with the cooling system on the engine, and we think that's actually leaking salt water into our engine cooling system.
I'm not gonna lie, the heat exchange does look fairly shin.
What is that?
What is it?
It's like a creamy colour. Maybe a bit clear. That's probably the salt at the bottom.
Retirement isn't what it's cut out to be. I wouldn't recommend it. We've been working since early this morning. We're still grinding now. There's a lot to do, but we're grinding as always.
And we're doing it for you guys, the Patreon masters.
The Patreon is the best community out there, our Patreon, especially the Admiralty.
Admirals. Admirals. Yes.
Admirals. It's T-minus 19 days until we launch, and we're busy away. We're just putting the masking tape down, ready to primer this pilot house roof and then paint it orange, OYZ orange. And Rams is scraping away. Henry's inside, getting ready to go up the mast. Again, he's going to finish off the Windex.
Henry's going all the way up.
South here as well.
And he's not even trying to climb, Rams is just dragging him up.
To give the spur some added flair and to add to its visibility, we decided to paint the pilot house roof OYZ orange.
OYZ.
No one make any sudden movements.
The heater looks like it's plugged in, pointing right. Literally sanitised.
It was finally time to apply the copper coat.
Your vision started to go a bit like, yo! Our first task was to mix the epoxy and hardener 1-to-1 before adding the copper to the mix and keeping it moving.
It's important to keep the copper suspended, so Henry was tasked with the job of mixing whilst we applied the coats.
We had to complete it all in one go,
with enough time for the layers to go tacky before applying the next coat so that the layers would chemically bond to each other, providing a long-lasting solution to hull growth. Copper coat had been suggested to us by our friends in the boatyard as the best option for anti-fouling, but many had also said it would be impossible or too much hard work to do ourselves. We also needed a weather window in which the temperature and humidity were at the right levels, otherwise it wouldn't dry correctly. The team were up for the challenge, and our approach began to feel like it was paying off as we rolled on each new layer.
With 6 arduous layers to apply, we knew it would be a long day.
We're ready for round 4.
We also stuffed tea towels into the drains to wick any water away. Been doing the copper coat today, we don't want to risk any late night sprinkles. So we're putting the tent up in case it rains overnight to protect the copper coat so we can keep it dry for as long as possible. It's not rained yet today, so we've picked a good day for it, but who knows what could happen in the night, so we're going to build this because it's better safe than sorry.
So we've got 1 litre left of the copper coat. There's 3 left for the rudder and other bits that need to be done, but this is the final coat for now, and it's looking pretty good. Thanks for the support on all the live streams, by the way, everyone. Those boys are out there on one right now. It looks like they've had a injection of spirits into their very tired bodies. We've been at this for hours. All day. That's the end of our copper coating day. What a day. Big graft. We're all knackered. Tomorrow, more things to be done. Let's go.
We're just building away on the old tent because we don't want to get caught with our trousers down. It's a very light rain, very misty rain, and it's all getting caught by this. You can't even hear it. It's a bit of a Scottish mist.
All the boys are fast asleep, so I've just came down to have a quick look before getting a shower. It's looking really good. We noticed a couple of streaks last night which we did saw, but I came over here and unfortunately we've got 2 leaks. We've got this one here, this streak here. We've got a bunch of streaks over here.
OYZ!
OYZ!
Look at the Starlink boys.
That's a Yaga match.
Pilot house roof looking pretty good. Some shoddy workmanship, but that's what it is at OYZ. We'll get it looking nice and fresh with the orange. A couple more layers.
So at the moment it's like this, but I have to put the Allen keys in this way and then turn it that way so that I can get the up-down thing I want on it and then get the wire through there.
Fuel reveal.
So Henry has lost the bolt for the other side of that. It's been sprinkled. It's one of them, it's happened, but we just need to find the piece now.
We are disaster prone, and we've apparently brought on another disaster prone apprentice.
The disaster prone clowns of OYZ.
So the genius kid took the piece downstairs with him. We found it. We're still sailing around the world. OYZ! OYZ! OYZ!
Ramsey has saved us from embarrassment on the 6th.
Yeah.
OYZ is back in the game.
So I've got this 4mm graphite packing gland rope. It fits just inside this lip here, which tightens onto the top of the rudder shaft, and it all clamps down and basically stops water from coming in, but it allows the rudder shaft, which will sit in there, to spin freely.
Found.
If we don't lose it.
Right, the big old wigwam is coming down. It's been 2 days since we put the copper coat on, and we're about ready to see it in the sunshine. Get rid of the tent, all the tarps, all the ropes, all the logs. So thank you to Whitehaven Marina for letting us use the logs. Cable toss.
This would be the first time we had seen the copper coat in the light of the sun, and we were excited to see what it would be like.
It felt as if we were one step closer to sailing around the world, and by this point the team was working together like a well-oiled machine.
Though we were proud of our handiwork, there was no time to waste, and we continued on with our next task of sanding the topsides and filling any scrapes before applying the paint job.
Topsides time. What we've done, we've sanded all around. A bit more sanding, acetone, before applying some car body filler, quick drying car body filler to the scratches and the scrapes, and then the regatta blue is going on. Let's go.
It's been working hard.
Go on, give us a flex.
Every single day.
Yes. So 2 of the Patreon admirals have come down to visit us, David and Louise. So thumbs up David and Louise in the comments, and they've brought us a present. Tight lines, David and Louise, and look what they've done to the Amazon. Right, now to see what it is. Yes, fishing gear to keep our bellies full so that we don't starve to death. Get in, putting on the car body filler as recommended by our dearest friend Richard. As soon as that's done, we're going to give it a light sand and we're going to paint it.
Measure once, cut twice. Next was the solar panel that we would need to stick to the roof with Sikaflex and wire it through into an MPPT controller, then to the battery. So we're just getting prepared to start with the topsides paint. We've looked at it, it looks an insanely cool colour.
We had worked hard to get to this point, and it felt like the project was beginning to come together. Through a democratic vote, we had chosen Regatta Blue as our colour, as we thought it would go well with OYZ Orange.
As we began to apply the first coat, we knew we had made the right decision, but we could have never imagined how well it would turn out when we chose it.
This paint was 2-part polyurethane, which had been suggested to us by our friends in the boatyard.
We set up a workflow to make our way around the boat, and the team were applying themselves well, working together in high spirits to get the task done.
Over the months of graft, we had all come together as more of a team, and we couldn't wait to get the boat back in the water.
Our choice in apprentice was beginning to pay off, as Henry had the perfect technique, applying each roll with precision.
You like the colour choice?
Cheapest tin of paint in the shop. Wasn't quite tractor paint.
Bathroom wall paint.
That's nice and bright.
Isn't it?
It is, it's bright. Transformed the blue.
Already goes so well with the orange. Just see up there if I put them. Yeah.
Months of hard work had paid off, and it finally felt like quitting our jobs early to get the boat ready was worth it.
Go on, Henry. Look at the finish you're getting on it.
It's not perfect, but it's not too bad.
This is the last lick, right?
Finally, I've finished the entire boat with the top sides. Wow, it took a long time.
Boom.
Good.
Our rammed.
Ground runs nice and smooth.
Boom!
Fucking clean.
For the captain of the Blue Spur.
Thank you, coach. Tuesday.
Oh, I said tag on the back.
Put the shades on. Come and see the freshly painted Blue Spur.
OYZ, baby.
Kuba will be joining us somewhere.
Absolutely, I believe it'll be in Sardinia, Italy. Can't wait. Let's go. Beach.
We also had to do an oil change and replace the old alternator. So I'm just removing this second alternator now. Getting there, but a lot of these bolts are old, rusty and quite tight, so it's not the easiest to get them all off.
Go on, Henry. We're holding the boat.
As our old manual bilge pump had croaked, it was important that we replaced it in order to protect us from the perils of sinking.
To be extra safe, we mounted a whale gusher pump on the bulkhead by drilling a large hole and installing a pipe down to the bilge.
We also gave the deck a full repaint using what was left over from the previous owner and the regatta blue from the top sides.
Get in.
Yes!
Oh, Vercra in with
Merge.
So all of this is for 2 boats, motion sensors, temperature sensors. Oh, so you can stick the unit anywhere, and then on the end of this cable that's in here, there'll be a little probe that you can stick to whatever you want to tell the temperature of. So I think we're going to stick that on our engine. These are our carbon monoxide alarms, I believe. So we have here bilge pump sensor. This will tell us when our bilge pump is on. OYZ. So that will stick near our high water level, and when the water gets over the top of this, it'll set an alarm off and it'll let us know.
To activate the copper coat, we would have to burnish it, which meant applying some elbow grease and rubbing the hull with a light sandpaper and water. Let's go.
Now, still out here.
In 925.
Woo! Leaning on the pilot house roof. Lean.
Shoring.
L's in the chat for Shin.
Look at this, guys. This is a mental piece of equipment. It's responsible for cooling down our engine. When we bought the boat, it did sometimes overheat, so we put it in a completely new one because our old one was more suitable for a hot tub than it was a 42 horsepower engine.
Though we had the coupler for the propeller shaft machined, we didn't end up using it as we decided to move the universal bearing forwards, which would bring the propeller in.
Yesterday we took delivery of the Vercru. This is the carbon monoxide sensor. It looks like we're going to punch through there, get it screwed into the wall across from the fire, so none of the boys wake up dead.
The Vercru.
Short power shish.
POV, you walked into Henry's shed.
You walk into Henry's shed. Yay! Yay!
So I've just been for my daily shower and picked up the post. Today we've got something addressed to the OYZ team. Ooh, you can see some really nice wood sticking through already. OYZ! Insane, yes, it's from RCO Furniture, handcrafted in Scotland. To the OYZ boys, best of luck on your worldwide voyage. A piece of Ayrshire to carry with you. Honorary Ayrshire boys now. God bless Ryan and RCO Furniture. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, RCO Furniture. That is unbelievable.
So we're just cutting off some of our fuel line, which is what we have here. Problem we've had is this newer, bigger battery box for our new battery pushes the fuel line a lot further back than it used to.
Yes, Admiral Nick Fox is here, and he's here with some presents for the boys. We've got some cakes and some Lucasades. Get in.
Enjoy.
Cheers, Nick.
Enjoy.
Top Admiral. This is the old bilge pump head. This is absolutely minging. No wonder it didn't work. We found the pipe that fits the bilge pump since we've replaced the old shale and a whale that was proper foigy. You can still taste the old bilge pump in the air, but this is the pipe. We found it under the spare bed for the new bilge pump, and we're going to get that installed now. Get up. We bought the Bowman's heat exchange, and the old fittings were wrong, and these are the new bad boys for it. So hopefully our engine might just last a little bit longer. There were still patches on the hull that hadn't been copper coated where the boat sat in the cradle. This is what the yacht used to look like. Absolutely shig'em-a-roic. Safety first. Go on, team. Let's go! We added more logs to prevent it from toppling over and precariously moved the cradle arms to expose the unfinished areas. Hey, the rudder is nearly back together again. The bottom bearing's back on,
with some new Whitworth bolts.
Unbelievable. We got John the signwriter in to add the final touches to the blue spur.
Yo, that looks sick. How's it going? Unreal. Three days to go, guys. 3 days.
Henry and Rams reinstalled the sails, ready for our big adventure.
We had to work around the clock to finish the jobs before the launch.
Unfortunately, we still had to shave out some of the rudder to make room for the prop.
Is that full lock? Yeah, nice. Get in. Go the other way. Get in.
Once the bearing had been moved forward, the prop fit in the gap, and one of the biggest hurdles in returning to the water had been overcome.
It was finally time to lift the boat and copper coat the patches underneath.
Yes! Let's go!
Right, get my hands dirty.
Spoon is the ultimate filling tool.
1 day till launch, eh? What the hell? Getting some fiberglass ready to put on the rudder. So the weather for Saturday, when we were meant to be setting off on our mega voyage, is actually so bad. 60-mile-an-hour gusts, and the captain's saying that he doesn't think we're going to get going. He's saying stay on the hard stand. Shame. Don't know if we're going to make it. Hope if it's like today, we'll go.
We had to work through the night in order to finish the copper coat before launching in the morning.
It is 2:22. I'm about to carry on heat gunning this copper coat, which is looking like it's actually setting quite nice. It is currently 5 to 4. Jeez. So that means we're getting lifted in 12 hours. And we're just still heat gunning the copper coat. So that officially ends it at 4:30. We just finished heat gunning as much as we could. Went on a last pail hunt for all the pale wet bits, and I'm absolutely knackered. So hopefully tomorrow the lift goes well. Get up, OYZ.
Good night.
Good night.
Sam took over at 5 AM to do the last stretch with the heat gun.
Look at that full clearance. I'm not sure if that's better or worse than what it was, but it definitely might work. The question is, have we done enough to stop the Yacht from sinking and sail around the world?
After months of hard work, we were finally ready. Quitting our jobs early had reduced our budget, but the start of our journey was within our reach.
The non-stop grind and the winter weather had taken their toll, and I was sure that we had taken years off our lives through the substances we had inhaled. But it was all worth it seeing the boat make its final journey to the water. It may have been foolish of us to attempt this over winter in the northwest of England, as we didn't have many weather windows to complete important jobs.
We had also run headfirst into tasks and made many mistakes. We hope that you can learn from our choices.
Despite this, the project had been completed, and we were finally going back into the water.
Get yourself back where you belong, in the drink. The blue spur is getting launched, coaches.
go then. Go on, here we go. Yes! Yes!
We've not even sank yet.
The team had come together and we were proud of ourselves and thankful to all the people that had helped us along the way. The intended date of our departure was approaching quickly, but weather warnings and advice from fellow sailors around the yard had put it into question.
We were still determined to set off, but we didn't want to end up on the rocks on our first day or make a stupid decision that we would regret.
I hereby raise this flag for OYZ! Tango! OYZ! 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 How strange to be in the boatyard again, with only an empty space. It's windy in Whitehaven today as well.
We may be in the water, but the restoration is still going.
The story of 5 Cumbrian lads sailing around the world had made its way to the mayor's office, so he came down and gave us the keys to the haven.
Thank you, mate. Look at this, Whitehaven Town Council. What kind of wood's this? Oak. Yeah.
One of the last things we've been looking for in the restoration was something to fill this hole. So I got in touch with my friend Kevin from school, who has his own joinery business called New Cuts. He's kindly made us this to slip right in there. It's a beautiful Blue Spur logo, carved in some nice hard wood with resin filled in to make it nice and weather resistant. So let's pop it in. Unbelievable, man.
Our lovely neighbours from the Macburn on the hard stand in Whitehaven Boatyard have just came over to give us a parting gift. Let's see what they've got for us. Here we go. Ooh. To the OYZ crew, bon voyage, fair winds. Remember to keep the people in
And the water out.
People in and the water out.
Look at all the care package they delivered as well. Some very well needed biscuits and coffee, so we're getting some of them down us right now.
So good.
The Blue Spur was finally ready for its voyage around the world, and we were proud of each other for the work we had done as a team.
After what seemed like a lifetime on the hard stand, we were on to the next stage of our adventure.
We had made countless mistakes and learned almost as many lessons, but through teamwork and blind foolish manpower, we had overcome all of the obstacles in our way and returned the boat to the water. Along the way, there had been many people who offered us their time, energy and expertise, and we could not have done it without them. We had made so many new friends, and it felt as if we had been welcomed into the community. Over the last 6 months, we had fallen in love with the quiet harbour town of Whitehaven, and it would remain in our hearts as we set off on our ultimate journey. It would soon be time to say goodbye and set sail for far-off lands and new adventures.
Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode where we will be setting off on our ultimate journey around the world.